Lisa, and I'm here to show you a great new hand tool from Sears. What you working on, Tim?
Well, I'm fixing this wheel, but these pliers make it really difficult. I mean, it takes two hands to adjust them, and even then it doesn't fit quite right, so I end up rounding off this nut.
Try RoboGrip instead of those slip joint pliers. With RoboGrip's unique design, you only need one hand to use them. Just a simple squeeze of the spring-loaded handle, and the jaws automatically adjust for a perfect fit. RoboGrip makes any job easier. It's perfect for snugging or loosening bolts and gets you into tighter places than ordinary pliers. RoboGrip even works on pipes. And you know you can trust the quality because it's a Craftsman tool, America's #1 name in tools. And remember, when you buy from Sears, your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back.
For rush delivery, get your Sears card or the credit card ready and call 1-800-261-8877. That's 1-800-261-8877. Or send check or money order to the address on your screen. Call 1-800-261-8877 right now.
When a bad storm hits, if their power goes down, so does their profit. Southern Company has a 99% reliable...
Got a bag safe and sound.
They speak the same language.
We can hang in my crib. I will show you my hood.
What the hell did you just say?
Jackie Chan. Wow. Chris Tucker. Rush Hour.
Which one of y'all kicking?
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday.
Sustained winds around 35 miles per hour, and its drift is somewhat to the south-southwest. As of right now, it's kind of embedded in a bigger flow aloft, a huge flow that's kind of been sinking somewhat to the south-southwest. Pressure, as you see from the estimates here, at 29.53 inches of mercury. That's around 1,000 millibars. It looks as though it's moving somewhat south-southwest, but over time, there's indication of maybe more of a northerly or northwesterly motion, again, moving back this direction, which, of course, its proximity to the Gulf Coast here raises a number of concerns. Again, pretty sizable batch of storminess here, a bit of a trough dug in, a lot of moisture being supplied to Florida, way too much, including many places, like around Miami. Over the last day and a half, we've had 5-6 inch amounts all over town, pretty common. That's the area that we're watching to the right. That's the most area of greatest concern right now. The tropical depression, again, number 8, easily within Friday, could be named a tropical storm. That's pretty likely. Actually, potentially, it could continue to strengthen. And also, again, more of the motion should become more of the northerly or northwesterly direction, more of a northerly jaunt is expected. As far as tropical storm watches go, anywhere from Sargent, Texas to Grand Isle, Louisiana. In these areas, eventually, you may encounter the risk. That's why we do have the watches in effect here along portions of the Gulf Coast for a tropical storm, should it continue to move that direction. Pascagoula, Mississippi, Grand Isle, Louisiana, could be seeing some problems here due to coastal flooding. Again, that's one of the effects of tropical systems. Classified tropical systems do tend to push up the water a lot, and it could make for some coastal flooding. And of course, this area we've seen problems the last few days, and that could be the case yet again. Here's the happenings presently. You can look and see again a lot of convection or storminess, kind of the bubbling nature of the storms. We do have some showers into Texas, but it's very evident how much moisture is in place in parts of southern Florida and in the Keys. A lot of storminess here. You can easily see that. But right there, that's the area of concern itself, and you can even kind of watch some of the south-southwesterly motion of the actual depression, that spin that's going on there. This is a great concern, of course, because of its proximity to the coast. We also need to examine another area with another system. This is Hurricane Georges. That's the, or Hurricane George, rather. That's the correct pronunciation of that. It's currently 1,150 miles to the east of the Lesser Antilles. Moving this direction, moving west at 21 miles per hour. Sustained winds around 80, 2906 inches of mercury. The problem with this is that it could easily continue this track, maybe more of a west-northwesterly, maybe a little more northerly component to its movement, which makes it a threat to the Caribbean. Notice, too, this was a Cape Verde storm that moved off the Cape Verde Islands. You can see where it was classified as a tropical storm there with that first dot, and you can see its present position. Again, moving west around 21 miles per hour, expected to continue. This general motion may have more of a northerly tilt, or more of a northerly turn, more component to that, could easily affect the islands. And that's why we're looking at this with a great area of storminess here. Starting to become a little more organized, also starting to potentially intensify a bit. It's forecast to actually increase its intensity over the next day or two here. Still could be of concern to the islands here within just a couple of days. That's why we'll have to keep you on top of it here at the Weather Channel. You can even see right there, we're starting to kind of get a bit of an eye going there, a center of circulation. As if this weren't enough, also we're examining yet another wave moving from the Cape Verde Islands with some associated convection with that. That too moving into a spot in an area where it may also continue to intensify and could become something of a classified nature. Okay, we're going to continue to monitor that area too. Elsewhere, here's another look at what's happening or maybe not happening in the Western Caribbean. Some general storminess here. Again, our greatest area of concern and most likely spot for something to happen would be from our tropical depression. Not really a prime time or spot for development across the rest of the Gulf and the Caribbean. In the Pacific, though, right through there, we're looking at this batch of storminess. Not much happening here along the Mexican coast. However, we do have Typhoon Todd. You can see the satellite picture jumping a bit. This looks like it should be in the next 24 hours or so, potentially interacting with Japan. We'll keep you on top of that with Typhoon Todd in the Western Pacific. Elsewhere, thunderstorm potential. Could be seeing strong storms parts of Florida into Texas, maybe portions of Virginia and North Carolina too. A lot of rain to look at around the country. We'll examine this with a complete forecast and Weather Center next.
Now those fantastic restaurant onion creations can be made right in your own home. Introducing the Great American Steakhouse Onion Machine. It's easy, it's fun, and it's oh so onion delicious. Don't confuse the Steakhouse Onion Machine with those hard-to-use plastic gadgets that only do small onions. You start with a nice large onion, trim and clean, then remove the center. Place the onion under the stainless steel blades of your Steakhouse Onion Machine and push down. You'll have a perfect onion creation. Just dip it and cook it in oil or bake it in the oven. In no time, your onion is golden brown delicious, just like they serve it in the restaurant. It's a special treat for the kids and great for your own parties. Call now and get this deep frying basket and colorful recipe book. It's only $19.
Friday morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the Weather Channel. 10 minutes before the hour, you've tuned in just in time for Storm Watch. We will detail the threat for severe thunderstorms today coming up in just a moment. First of all, though, let's give you the latest, our tropical update, because we have a couple of interesting systems to tell you about. Our 8th tropical depression of the season. Well, this time yesterday morning, it was an area of low pressure, just a tropical disturbance, but it has been declared a tropical depression this morning. It is centered at 25.4 degrees north, 92.8 degrees west, and that makes it about 325 miles south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Winds of 35 miles an hour. It has been drifting very slowly south and southwest. And there is to the lowest estimated central pressure, about 1,000 millibars. This dot is where the center of circulation was yesterday, and now we have noticed that it has moved just a little bit to the south. Now, we think it will stay generally in this same position for the next 24 hours, and after that, it could start to move northward, and it is expected actually to become a tropical storm sometime later today. So we will definitely keep you posted on this system as it could become more organized, and that spells problems. Of course, a major concern here, because this is where we had Francis, remember, in the Gulf of Mexico with all the flooding problems for the coastal areas. Now, tropical storm watches remain in effect for Matagorda, Texas, all the way into the eastern shores here of Louisiana, east to Grand Isle, and we have tropical storm warnings for Pascagoula, Mississippi, down to Grand Isle, Louisiana. As we go through the day, we could find the influx of moisture coming in along the coast of Louisiana, and that will just basically increase the swells along the coast, so coastal flood advisories are in effect. Because the center of circulation is still way down here, we do not anticipate much in the way of heavy rain getting closer to the coast today, because even the deepest convection is closer to the center of circulation, and it's well out here in the open waters, and you can see the confined area that we have. This is the colored enhanced satellite picture, which shows the higher, the colder cloud tops in the atmosphere indicated by the red. So we have our deepest convection and the heaviest rain right here beneath this cluster. And believe it or not, this is in the same general area that we have the center of circulation. So this very, very interesting, and we will continue to watch the Gulf of Mexico as we go through the day today. It's caught up in a broader scale of low pressure, just a broad upper air trough here in the Gulf of Mexico, and that has aided in bringing very heavy rain across the southern parts of Florida. We've had over 5 inches of rain in Miami over the last 30 to 40 hours. So some heavier downpours here caught up in this just overall troughiness or overall trough in the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll keep you posted on our 8th tropical depression in the Gulf. Hurricane George, remember this time yesterday morning it was Tropical Storm George, but it too has become more organized overnight. It's about 1,000 miles east of the Lesser Antilles, the islands here, the Leeward and the Windward Islands. It is moving due west at a pretty fast forward momentum, 23 miles an hour, and the lowest estimated central pressure, 978 millibars. It is expected to stay on this track and maybe jaunt a little to the north, and over the next 60 hours we could find this system getting closer to the central islands. You can see that it's very well organized, as you can clearly identify the eye of the storm, and the eye is basically in the center of the overdense clouds. So that is an indication that this system is fairly organized as it moves west, again at 23 miles an hour. So all eyes are definitely posted on George here. George moving away, and we have another system coming off of the African coast, and we have some convection with it, but perhaps the outflow from George will influence this system and it will not organize as quickly. We will keep you posted, of course, on Hurricane George as well as our 8th tropical depression in the season. We will detail the thunderstorm outlook next.
Tropical weather systems are affected by so many variables.
We constantly monitor the situation.
If someone is safer by watching the Weather Channel, that's what it's all about.
These days, it seems like everybody's got a Cherokee or an Explorer. Me, I like to stand out a bit.
That's why I drive a Subaru Outback.
With a big cargo bay and all-wheel drive, you get all the sport utility you need. But with the smooth ride and better gas mileage, the Outback is far from ordinary. Like me, really.
Go out. Live your life. That's what I'm doing now.
How can you plan your day when you don't know what the weather's going to be like? I know people like to plan ahead for their day. I can help you out.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel for Storm Watch, sponsored by the Home Depot. We have with us Dr. Steve Lyons, the Weather Channel's hurricane and tropical expert, to give you a detailed briefing on what's going on, and there's a lot going on. Steve?
Well, thank you, Marshall, and welcome to the Tropical Update. Let's go straight to the Gulf of Mexico and see the latest on our Tropical Depression number 8 there. Currently, at least at 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 25.4 north, 92.8 west. Winds 35 miles per hour, and we had mentioned it was meandering around and now is basically stationary for all practical purposes. We don't expect that to continue. However, it should generally take a more northward track the next several days, and in the process it should intensify to tropical storm, and that's why our tropical storm watches are up from Matagorda, Texas over to Grand Isle, Louisiana. In addition to that, on the peripheries they have some coastal flood advisories out, watches from Matagorda down to Rio Grande, and also from Bay St. Louis to Pascagoula to Mississippi, and then also some warnings up basically over the mouth of the Mississippi. Now, what it looks like right now on satellite imagery is not too impressive. We have a very large low pressure system over the entire Gulf of Mexico, and within that low we have a very concentrated tighter area of stronger winds, and the stronger winds, of course, are the ones up to 35 miles per hour. The overall circulation producing a lot of thunderstorm activity, but the upper level flow is not all that conducive for rapid development, and so we don't expect this to do too much, but it could become a tropical storm later today or tomorrow as it meanders around and then takes a more northward drift as a trough from the northwest comes in and picks it up. Now, another system we've been looking at very closely is Hurricane George out in the Atlantic, and this one now is at 12.9 north, 45.2 west. That's about 1,000 miles east of the Lesser Antilles. Winds are now 90 miles per hour. It continues to intensify. It's moving to the west at a very fast clip, 23 miles per hour, and pressure's down to 978 millibars. We have the most recent visible satellite imagery on it now, and you can see it over here with a well-defined eye. Here are the islands way back behind me over here. And it looks like if this continues on the same track, it will affect the island sometime early Sunday morning. The National Hurricane Center is expecting some continued development up into the Category 4 range as a potential there. And of course, the area in the forecast out at 48 to 72 hours is broad, so anywhere from the south-central Lesser Antilles all the way to the northern Antilles, it's possible that you're going to see some bad weather associated with our hurricane here as it intensifies and moves over warmer water. We can see on the infrared satellite imagery as well a well-defined core. The interesting thing about this one, though, is that the core of strong winds is relatively small. So as this moves to the coast, or moves toward the islands here, only a small portion of it's going to likely be affected by very, very strong winds. So we'll keep an eye on that and monitor that for you very, very closely. Farther to the east, we have another low-pressure system to the south and west of the Cape Verde Islands, and we'll pay attention to that one a little bit later, but right now it's got some thunderstorms with it and not doing too much. The Caribbean is also very, very quiet as well, other than some high clouds. Pacific, good news there. No tropical development expected the next couple days. Stay tuned for Weather Center next.
As a tropical depression churns the Gulf of Mexico, we're tracking its development and potential impact on the U.S. Stay tuned for a full report next on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
We have the how-to clinics where we show the customer how to do the project themselves.
After doing it for the first time, they feel a lot more comfortable with it.
They get involved, they get pumped, they take notes, they come to the Home Depot, they get the products, they're taught how to do it, and they go home and they do it, and they're like, wow, I did it, and the Home Depot showed me how.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Marshall Seas, and you're tuned to Storm Watch. We're going to give you a full tropical briefing. You'll want to stay tuned for this because there are two tropical developments, a depression in the Gulf of Mexico and a Category 2 hurricane on its way toward the Lesser Antilles. For the details on all of that, we'll turn you now to Dr. Steve Lyons, the Weather Channel's hurricane and tropical expert.
Well, thank you, Marshall, and welcome to the Tropical Update. And we do have two systems out there we've been monitoring. Let's look first at a little larger picture of the Gulf and the Caribbean, then we'll zoom in. Our tropical depression is really associated with this cluster of clouds here, even though we have a lot of thunderstorm activity over Florida still. The Caribbean is really fairly clear, and we won't detail that anymore other than to say nothing is developing down there. But now let's zoom into our tropical depression. Up here you can see that there's Louisiana coastline, Texas coastline is off to the northwest. You can see the circulation here, and actually if you look closely, the vortex, the very center of the circulation is off to the west of the deep thunderstorm activity, which is about right where I'm pointing here. Still some thunderstorms there, and we expect this to become a tropical storm here in the next 24 to 36 hours before it makes landfall somewhere on the North Texas or Louisiana coastline. Current position estimates at 10 a.m., 26.1 north, 92 west. Of course, the winds are still 35 miles an hour with a slow northward drift. And the tropical storm advisories are up from Matagorda, Texas, all the way to Pascagoula, Mississippi. And that's because we expect this to strengthen to a tropical storm and affect the coast with those tropical storm winds. Now, farther out into the Atlantic basin, we have Hurricane George. And this one is a very powerful hurricane already. It's already up to Category 2 and is expected to become a Category 4 hurricane within the next 24 to 36 hours. So it's on the intensity track there that's increasing. Continues to move to the west at a fairly good clip, now 21 miles per hour. Pressure's down to 978 millibars. And if we have a look at it here, if I get out of the way, you can see a very well-defined eye circulation there and moving to the west. And that is the signs of a deepening tropical cyclone there. And if you look back here, here are the Windward Islands over here, and we're talking about a landfall scenario roughly very early Sunday morning. And so you need to be paying very special attention to where this goes and what the intensity change is going to be. Hurricane Center is likely to put up hurricane watches here in the next few hours, probably later this afternoon or tonight. And hurricane warnings will probably go up the following morning. It's a very dangerous system there, so we need to be very careful. And you can see here in the Atlantic on the infrared imagery, the eye still poking out there as a well-defined circulation center. So very dangerous system there indeed. Now behind it, you can see our hurricane moving off to the west there. Behind it, we've got a tropical low here to the south of the Cape Verde Islands, and that continues to move to the west. We'll monitor that for you, but as it stands right now, it doesn't appear that that circulation is going to intensify very soon due to its proximity to our hurricane, but we'll monitor it anyway. Now, as we go off into the Pacific, we've seen that our trough of low pressure that typically is associated with forming tropical cyclones in the Pacific has been sitting right along the Central America coast. And because of that, we don't see any tropical development. Instead, just some random thunderstorm activity. That should persist through the weekend. We don't expect tropical development in the eastern Pacific at all. As we go off into the extreme western Pacific, we've had a couple of typhoons out there. One is moving off here just off the south coast of Japan. That's a very interesting system indeed, but not expected to hurt Japan anymore. And another system is developing farther off to the southeast. Well, stay tuned. More weather next.
As a tropical depression churns the Gulf of Mexico, we're tracking its development and potential impact on the U.S. Stay tuned for a full report next on Weather Center.
Tex, I love the big fella, but cleaning a smell out of my rugs, not so easy.
Well, now there's a way to get bad smells out of fabrics for good.
It's called Febreze. It's new.